want to do some quick housekeeping, and then I'm going to just get to the point and get out of your way because we're going to have a reception, and some of you are going to hang out with us tonight. But I want to start by saying thank you to a good friend, a person who was my number 2 guy when I was the president of the 100 Black Men of Atlanta, and he's moved up to the ranks in the last 5 years, but not just what he does every day and has done for the 100, but through the foundation he heads, what he's done in terms of spreading and investing throughout this country, and has done a phenomenal job. Curly Dossman, if you'll come on up on stage with me. First, we're going to present Curly with a Frable. Judge Graves, he won't be banging this one either. But again, for your many years of service, not just the 5 years as our national chairman, but all of the years you've invested here and invested in the 100 of Atlanta and everywhere. We went in 1993 together, and we've been friends and we work together. So Curly, on behalf of the men of the 100 Black Men of America, we present you with this Frable. First to say thank you, and we hope you'll remember all of those long hours and slavery you put in for the 100 over the years. So that's great.
Thank you very much, Tommy. And I know what he's telling me. In the emeritus role, they still got some work to do. I understand.
Wait, I'm not finished. I'm not going to take this out because there may be some young people in the room, but this is something we all believe in, the libation from the ancestors. We know you won't be laughing. What's in here, you won't be pouring out for the ancestors. We know you'll go get something else. And of course, understanding the sacrifices that Jennifer has made over the years, we want to make sure you give that to Jennifer. We know she's busy with the school system and all back in Atlanta and couldn't be here. And basically taking care of the grandson who could not, who again is the boss, and we understand bosses. And last but not least, we want to make sure with this, while you're kicking back and enjoying that, you light up a stogie, and we want to make sure you know that we appreciate you. So with that.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it.
Wait, Brian's got to work this quick, but look. Let me get it. All right, okay.
Appreciate you. No. All right, thanks.
All right, let's give it up for Curly again, folks. Let me start again by asking all of the men of the 100 that are here from across the country and across the waters, if you will just stand with me. Curly, one of the things that you get, it was started a tradition by Al Dotson. I think Al gave me one because he wanted one. And no. Each past chair gets this pen. And we want to make sure I pin you now.
Thank you, sir.
And again, we thank you for your years of service. Now that looks great. Al, I think you put a few more ounces of gold in that than what you did for me.
Appreciate you, man.
Hey,
thanks, Jim.
Let's get up for
Thanks,
Curly. To the outgoing leadership from the board, you may be outgoing from an official office, but your work is still yet to be done. And we want to thank all of you for your years of service. I want to say to Marvin, your 5 years as our vice chair, along with Curly, we want to thank you for those years of involvement and sacrifice. And it's important, let's give it up for Marvin Dickerson. It's very important. And I want a special thank you to Marvin and to others, but it's important for those who offer themselves. You know, offering yourself for public service, too many people sit on the sideline, but those who engage and get involved know that it's important that we have to do our part to make sure that the blessings we've had, we pass those blessings. And so I want to say again to Marvin and those who offered, you're not losers. You are members who volunteered and we know you're going to continue to volunteer, and I thank you. Thank you for all that you've done and what you're yet to do. And again, hold your heads high because, again, if it weren't for you, over these 5 years and the many years through our chapters, we wouldn't be where we are. So let's give it up to all of our outgoing officers in this organization. Have some very special people here. Again, I'm not going to go into some long, lengthy speech, but it's important because these individuals are near and dear to me. I've been fortunate first to have had a supporting family. Last Saturday, Carol and I celebrated 32 years, and she's still waiting for hazardous work pay for putting up with me for 32 years. And I just told Susan, I told her your blessings are on the way. She said, don't give me blessings, give me what I want right now. So, Cheryl, thank you for all of the years of support and service and being there. And to my son, as I always say, if he'd been the first, I would have only had one child. My youngest son, Thomas, who grew up in the 100, he was 8 years old when I took the helm as national chair, but he has grown up in the 100. So Thomas, you and Carol just stand because it's important that we all understand that we cannot do the things that we do. We can't do the things that we do without you, and I know all too often we don't say it enough. And I know with 6 businesses and when I'm away, I know you curse me out, but you keep the business running. As a matter of fact, I have to come back and remind my employees that I am still the owner and the boss, but they don't believe me. But thank you. And to the rest of my family that's here, I want you to just stand and say thank you to all of my family that's here with me, all of you on that road, because you're family. I want to thank you, my sister-in-law, my niece, and my godson, and my friend who actually has a key to my house because she and Carol go off all over the world and I don't get to go. So I have to vet a little bit in the public now. But let me get to my points. First, I want all of the presidents of the HBCUs that are here, my friends that are here, Dr. Robinson, Dr. Jones, Dr. Artis, please stand. This is the president of Florida A&M University, the president of the Fort Valley State University, and the president of Benedict College. I want to thank you. You've all been engaged and involved, and I have the great honor of serving as a trustee for the Florida A&M University. I graduated from Fort Valley State University 46 years ago, and Dr. Artis calls me as if I'm an alumnus, and I do whatever she says whenever she wants. She just left Florida Memorial going to Benedict College, but thank you, because for so many of us in this room, had it not been for you and for our great institutions, we wouldn't be where we are today. And my first challenge to those in this room, I don't care if you went to Harvard or Yale or wherever you went to, wherever you got your degree. All my children went to HBCUs. And that's important. I say that because of the commitment. But my first challenge to us in this room, these leaders now have challenges like never before. And if it were not for these great institutions, many of us wouldn't be here, because I was born in 1950 and there were very few choices. Even when I was born in 50 and when I graduated, most of the major universities wanted me to come and play sports. But Fort Valley saw my academic prowess and said, look, we want you. You gave me an academic scholarship, and I turned down the others. And then I went to Atlanta University, which is now Clark Atlanta, and got my master's and served as a trustee there. So I challenge us. And Dr. Johnson, I don't know if he made here from Clark AU, but my first call to us is that we've got to support these great institutions. In the early 30s, 1930s, we had over 235. Today, there are only about 104, and this time next year, we may be under 100. So I challenge you, these are our institutions. You can send your children wherever you want, but these are our universities. These colleges and universities need us. So my first charge is let's do more, let's be more, let's invest. And I want to say to you, we appreciate you, and we are going to be there for the HBCUs. This 100 Black Men of America organization will support you and believe in you. Thank you. had on the stage with me, in addition to my wife and my son, Dr. C.T. Vivian. Dr. C.T. Vivian is one of my heroes. 92 years old? 93, just turned 93. I have to see, I keep losing count because he runs up and down steps and puts shame to us guys. 93 years old. He travels the country with me and many others as we do legacy lecture series on Black college campuses. He's at every meeting. We're working on gentrification challenges in Atlanta. But if it were not for him, we would not have the Voting Rights Act. Let's give another hand to Dr. C.T. Vivian. My other good friend sends his regards. He's preparing to go to Africa. Ambassador Andrew Young couldn't be here, but he's been an integral part of what we do too. So I want to say first, thank you. When I first called up my good friend Wendy, she knows when I call, I'm calling to say hello first, and then I ask for something. My mother taught me to be polite, say hello, how you doing? And by the way, do you have any change hanging around? So she called up to the big man and said, look, I was asking for about 100,000, and he said, well, we'll see what we can do, but anyway, here we are. I want to thank SunTrust for stepping up and being the co-sponsor for today, and we thank you for investing in this today. And it's important that I make the point, because we got several partners in here. They may be in other sectors, but the good thing that we have in the 100, we have partners who are committed to children and to community, and they always encourage us, if you can find it, get it, because we're all about this. And so you'll hear from some of our other partners this weekend, but we want to say thank you for your investment. And to the Hyatt, I've been a partner and worked with Hyatt for over 32 years in all of my events. And I say that many times the physical facilities are about the same, and some may be better than others, but it's the people who make the difference. And that's why our first choice of hotels when we do our conferences and meetings over the last few years has been the Hyatt. And so Peter McMahon, the general manager of the Hyatt Regency Atlanta, where we're headed in 2020 again, we appreciate you. When I picked up the phone and called my good friend Gail on a Saturday morning, we were begging for something. She said, oh, Tommy, let me just give you what you want. But Gail's been a great friend, and Michael Smith couldn't be here because of procedure he had to have, and who's been with us, and Renika and all. So we thank the Hyatt also for your commitment and involvement, and we do feel at home when we're here. To my brothers that are all here, we have a lot of work to do. And I don't want to forget Senator Jackson. I got to call Senator Lester Jackson. He is the chairman of the Legislative Black Caucus of Georgia, the largest black caucus, state caucus in the United States, Senator Lester Jackson out of Savannah, Georgia. But I'm not going to start rogue. I got so many friends in here, and I know CJ is here from the U.S. Department of Commerce, and we're working on a trade mission to South Africa and a lot of other things. And I must say, and many folks get caught up on a lot of the rhetoric and stuff that's out there. There's some great people that I've had the chance of working with over the last few months and continue. And CJ's one of them. Stan, CJ I've known for years, and we're going to work with her. Because, again, here's a sister who's reached out, and there are others who want to make sure in her position there are opportunities for us to have access. And that's going to be the basis of my next few minutes, and then I'm getting out of the way, is that we've got to work together. We've got to partner together. We need to understand that the problems we see today didn't start in November of last year. It didn't start in January of this year. We have had this problem of poverty that's gone on for decades and continues to grow in this country, and we have not done our part. That's why my sister Susan Taylor left a high-paying high six-figure, and with her change and benefits, seven figures, to pull and give her whole time and dedicate her time for the National Cares Mentoring Movement. And with her partner, Kefra Burns, they have worked around this country because she understands mentoring is important. And she's gotten involved and gotten people engaged, because our goal is to have 1 million of us mentoring. So, Susan, you and Kefra, that partnership we want to continue. And I salute you, my sister. You are one who makes serious sacrifices. But we have to make sacrifices, because I understand real leaders don't seek followers. They must inspire them. We need inspirational leadership. And we've talked about L.I.F.T, because this, again, is important for us as we move leaders ignited for transformation in our communities. If we don't do something now, because, you know, and let me just put it out there, President Trump was not elected just by races that many people want to put out there. 13% black males voted for him. 52% women voted for him. The majority of CEOs of Fortune 500 and 100 companies supported him. 32% of Latino men voted for him, and the numbers go on. This is a political system. But what we got to do is get over it. Because one, with 49% of us voting, you see the results. The fact that many folks had every excuse for not supporting somebody else. So the reality is he played in the political game and he won. But the problems we have today did not start with Donald Trump. This whole issue in our communities where we don't even engage and involve with our young children in our communities. You know, we talk about racism, but you know what? Our problem with classism is just as bad. Some of us think we're too good to get back and get involved in the communities with our young people. And this whole problem, the over-incarceration of young black males didn't start in this administration, and they continue to get locked up. I live in Atlanta. They incarcerate more black men in Atlanta than they do in the whole state of Georgia, other cities in the state of Georgia. What's wrong with that? And we talk about we want access. We got elected officials who look like us, who decide they own cities and they own political offices instead of working for the people. And so if we're going to hold our white brothers and sisters accountable, and we must, whether it's in corporate America or whether it's in political offices, we got to hold our brothers and sisters accountable too. They cannot get a free ride. And so we need to get our act together. It's about who's going to work with us. And you've heard me say it over and over and over again for so many years. There are those of our color who are not of our kind. And there are those of our kind who are not of our color. And all black folks aren't for us, and all white folks aren't against us. It's about dealing with people who believe in making a difference and want to make a difference. In the 100, we will work with anybody. We will work with this administration. We will work with governors and senators, regardless of their political party and their preference, as long as they're going to work with us for our children and our communities. That is important. And folks, you can't sit and say, I'm only going to work with Democrats. I'm going to only work with independents. Because, you know, I was in the U.S. Senate for 16 years. I was the first African-American state director appointed by any U.S. senator. And it was by a Southern senator from the South, Sam Nunn. And we had several black senators who came along the way who could have appointed African-American state directors. As a matter of fact, in Congress now, and it's shameful. And let me be clear, I'm a Democrat, but it's shameful that Republican members in Congress have more African-American executive staff than the Democrats, including our black caucus. So what are you going to do? We got to hold people accountable. And so our challenge as an organization is that we as 100 black men, one, mentoring is number one. And if you don't mentor, I'm sure the board is going to have a message for you. That's important. And when we talk about failing schools in this country, I'm a product of the segregated society. In 1950, the schools were all segregated, but the teachers taught all of us. It was excellence without excuse. And those books that were torn and tattered, they put tape on it, and they said everything you're reading here is across this town in those new books is the same thing. We make excuses. It must be excellence without excuse. But we can't say we don't want to have our failing schools closed and not do something about it. We have got to get engaged, get involved. And I know what happens when we had the Wimberley Initiative in the 100. When Bill Wimberley passed, we named it. We had a partnership with the U.S. Department of Education, and we picked several school districts, and we were able to negotiate that the best principals in those communities, we were able to get them in those failing schools. And we found extra dollars to subsidize to get some of the best teachers from the community in those failing schools. And we coupled that with mentoring, and every one of those schools met and exceeded the national standard because the formula works. We don't need to worry about reinventing the wheel. We need to do what works. When I was in those segregated schools, all my teachers came from HBCUs, but you know what? They did not allow us to have excuses for not achieving. And we had parents who came in as teacher assistants and volunteers. I have been in the schools just as my brothers have. I don't see how a teacher with 30 students in her class, with 15 or 20 who are ready to learn, 5 more may be marginal and 5 have no idea why they're in the classroom, and you expect them to learn? That's why so many of our young people drop out, because they have no idea what's going on, because nobody gives them the kind of time and support in the classroom. And we blame teachers. If it weren't for teachers, we wouldn't be where we are today. We got to have, again, we got to have the investment. We got to also make sure that we elevate teachers to the level that they ought to be. We glorify athletes. We glorify the folks who are out here as entertainers, but it's the teachers every day who make a difference. So as we look at what we do, and as we move as an organization, I say to all of us, we must be relevant. We don't just want to be the most popular organization. We're not looking for that. We want to be relevant. We want to say we made a difference. I don't want to be in the press, and I want to be relevant to know that I helped to make a difference. That's important. 23 years ago, when I was first elected chair and served 5 terms, it was about the 100. It wasn't about me, and today it's not about me. God spared me from a disaster with cancer to continue to do, and my blessings from God gives me the importance of sacrificing today, just as all of us in this room have had challenges. We're here for a reason. We're not here to be served. We're to be servants. And this organization and our leadership will be servants. We've already made it clear. This is not a glamour job for any of them. We work early and we'll stay late. If we're going to use the resources of our investors to come and do something, we're going to do something. But we're also going to be accountable. Accountability is important for my chapters on up through to us on the board and our staff. And so we guarantee you, you will be proud, and you will know that your dollars you invest in us, you will have great returns. The time that you invest in us, you will see great returns. And the last thing is that we look to have partnerships. And we are going to. Tomorrow at 10:30, we're having a leadership roundtable to start talking about what we must do together. You know, some folks need to know when to lead, when to follow, and when to get the hell out of the way. And there are folks who want to be out and hold press conference, don't know a darn thing about what they're holding a press conference for. They just know they can get some press there. That won't work. The National Coalition on Black Civic Participation has done a phenomenal job in civic engagement. We don't need to be the people out registering people to vote. We need to be with them, and when they need us to get people registered to vote and get out, we need to follow the experts. And the same thing with the National Business League and business development. We're going to be working in partnership. And National Cares Mentoring Movement, it was started from a partnership. And as we go down in the issue with HIV and AIDS, the National Medical Association, and all of our challenges in the medical side, we need to be following them. And Mark Morial and Urban League and job creation and business development. We need to understand we can't be everything, and we certainly can't be everything to everybody, but we can have partnerships that work. We can have partnerships that help us to move, and partnerships that ensure that the young men and women who follow us will have an opportunity like we've had in this room. In 1994, when I took office, it was a whole new different time. We had corporations investing. The black middle class was on the rise significantly. And after the economic downturn, we lost half of the black middle class, and we still sitting around business as usual. So my challenge to all of us, because I know my brothers who get up every day, who work hard, we're going to highlight what our chapters do, because the good work starts in the chapters. We're going to do training and do regional training so they can have the support to continue to build, so we can build capacity. Because we know every day when you turn on the television, some young black boys walking around with handcuffs. They've been murdered, and people talk about Chicago and love Chicago, but Chicago's not the only place. We're in denial. And then the last thing is that we used to have black mayors and black elected officials all over this country. We don't know what's going to happen in Atlanta, but we sure enough trying to deal with black folks who don't understand unity, and all y'all can't win. Some of you get the heck on out of the way. And we're trying to work with that, but you saw what happened in St. Louis. We know Harlem. We don't look at Philadelphia. And as we look at all of the cities where we used to be, really, Savannah, we just lost Savannah a few years, Jacksonville, Florida. We need to be unified, not because we just want a black face. We got to have leaders that know what we know will represent everybody. So my challenge here is, as an organization, we've got to be stronger, we got to be committed, we got to have more, and we have organizational structures that want to help us to expand where we aren't, because every community ought to have positive black men in there working with them. It shouldn't be, well, we already got enough chapters. The issue is wherever there are black boys and girls, we ought to be there. Whether we're there as a chapter or we're out there in a community, are we working with CARES and other organizations and fraternities and sororities, we've got to be there. The National Black MBA Association and others. Dr. C.T. Vivian, who every Saturday is up mentoring young men in our community at 93 years old. If he can get up and do that every Saturday and put his money in it, what's wrong with us? So my challenge is we have to do more. We have to be more for our young people. We have to prove to our investors that we are worthy of their resources. And at the end of the day, we do need to have leadership ignited for transformation, because we cannot have business as usual. We cannot be out here on a hope and a prayer. We have the ability. We made it this far when we had far less, and we can do much more. And so I challenge us with my good friends, and there's so many in here, business owners that I admire and I've worked with who've made investments, and we are establishing, and we'll let you know up front, a corporate council. Because while we are members, we are smart enough to know we don't know it all, and we want to get input from our corporate and foundation leaders and from our community leaders. We will have the partnerships. My commitment to you, to my members first, I'll be the first one in to turn on the lights, and I'll be the last one in the room to turn it off. I don't have a problem with that. As I said before, in my first time I ran, I'm a workhorse, I'm not a show horse. Thank you.